touch the skies. Cheltenham town and Forest Green, Gloucester city stands so keen. Talk of the county, loud and clear.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Talk of the County. I am your host, Daniel Hopkins. I am joined by Dave Jones. Good afternoon, Dave.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Sean Baker. Good afternoon.
All right, lads.
And Chris Hayes. Good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
It's going to be a fun one today, mate.
It is. And I will apologise to Gloucester City and Forest Green Rovers fans listening straight away, because obviously with the going on at Wadham Road, it's going to be a show which is pretty much dominated by Cheltenham. But on the plus side, you're all going to enjoy what's going on at the Golden Valley. So sit back and have a little smile for now. So we've got a busy show, so we're going to crack straight on with it. We're going to start off with Gloucester City. Dave, you was there.
I was.
A very good 3-0 win. Before I get your thoughts on it, I'm going to play Ryan O'Dell, who's a Gloucester City fan. He sent in his thoughts on the game, and this is what Ryan had to say on the game.
Hey, Talk of the County. Dilly here, lifelong Gloucester City fan. Very happy this afternoon after a great 3-0 win yesterday away to Weymouth to make up for a sad FA Cup loss last weekend. A game again we should have won but didn't. We're on to another big game on Tuesday, which is Farnham away, which I think if we can win that, it will be a cracking start to the season and the sign of good things to come. Loving the new management team and the squad at the moment. Great to watch, some great football, and always talking sense in his press conferences after and things like that. So it's good things. We're nicely sat at the top of the table at the moment. Like I said, squad looking superb and strong, and we are actually all starting to believe that something could be happening. Like I said, a win on Tuesday, and hopefully we're well on the way to a promotion-winning season. Long may it continue. Up the Tigers.
So that's Ryan's thoughts. So thanks for sending that in, Ryan. What's your thoughts, Dave? Did you see the game? You travelled down there yesterday? Well, you're on Friday and the weekend.
My first thoughts are that I think me and Chris are the only people in Gloucester who don't sound like an original member of the Wurzels.
Why are you saying that bad?
Yeah, went down on Friday. Managed to book myself into possibly the worst hotel in Britain, the UK, but I'll leave that for another day.
I saw your review, Dave. It was great.
They're not going to thank me for that on TripAdvisor, I don't think. But yeah, it was but the hotel apart, it was an absolute brilliant. It's like the reason we do it. Great weekend away. It's like, it's the last second defeats and stuff. You wonder why you do it, but that, like the weekend we just had, reminds you why you do it. It was really, really great performance. Good trip. I don't know if you boys have ever played there, but what a fantastic ground Weymouth have got as well. Really, really beautiful ground. It's like huge terraces, all covered. It's really, really great. We had probably good 3 figures there, and it was as soon as the first whistle went, we just looked on it. We just took the game to them and raced into a 3-0 lead, and never looked. I mean, having said that, they had a couple of really good. Well, they weren't really good chances. They were really, really good long strikes that, from watching from the other end, they were destined for the top corner. But Jared, our keeper, made a couple of fantastic saves. If both of those had gone in, it could have been a bit of a different story for the last 10 minutes. But yeah, it felt pretty relaxed, really. Bit of a party atmosphere, a few olays going on as the ball was being passed about, and all in all, a very, very good performance on the road.
So, Ben Morgan got a goal and assist, started the scoring off. How do you think Ben done?
He played brilliantly. Him and Michael O'Regan at the back. Still haven't got Bree back. I think he's back next week. But the way they're playing, it's going to be difficult to find him place in the side, to be honest. Ben played really well, causing havoc at any set pieces. He scored a great goal direct from a corner, just lost his man, made a great run, got his head on the end of it and glanced it in, and then for a set piece into the box, he nodded it down, and Sops got on the end of it and lifted it into the top corner. Lovely little finish. Our first goal was great long-range effort from Ed Williams, which cannoned down off the bottom of the crossbar, and it's one of those like, oh, has it got over the line? It hasn't, and then but before you had a chance to worry, Ellis Watts got there first and just rolled it in. So yeah, really, really good performance. Played some lovely passing football on a big, expansive, really good quality pitch, and it was a really good day.
You mentioned Watts scored the second goal. It was a rebound off a absolute thunderous shot by Ed Williams. For any Cheltenham fans out there, just rewind back to last week against Crawley when Crawley hit the bar and Chris said, "Was it over the line?" It was identical to that. And then he followed it up well and poked home, and that makes it 2-0.
I don't know. Maybe I've got my order out of sync. I thought that was the first goal, but I could well be wrong.
You was there, David. It's probably me who's wrong. I've got I got Watts second goal. I got Morgan first, and Albieri third.
No, I think Ellis Watts was the first goal. Morgan's direct header was the second goal, and then I think Sopps's poked finish from Morgan's knockdown was the third. But they were all the scoring was done probably in the first 35 minutes, I think, and then they had a decent little spell, got a bit more of the ball, got into the game in the just before half time and had a good chance, but Jared made a good save and that went in at 3-0. And it does. I don't know if you've seen Steve Claridge's interview afterwards. Who comes across as such a nice guy. Gave us all the plaudits, didn't make any excuses, and he said, when you go in at half time 3-0, it's a difficult journey back, and so it proved.
I did listen to it. He sounded a bit like Michael Flynn when he was saying that he said Weymouth had a really good week in training. Got to the Saturday and he said they was very flat. But sometimes I think it's easy to look like that, but maybe was it Gloucester played that well and made them look flat?
I think so. I think it was. We've got a very, very creative midfield. If anything, if you look at the lineup yesterday, we really don't lack an aggressive midfielder in there. Ed Williams, Pinchard, Watts. That they're all very much ball players who get the ball and run at people. And yesterday they just all had a good game on the same day, and they just couldn't cope with us. It was just all like passing football, and they were just chasing shadows.
Did Weymouth look like a poor side? Like a team at the bottom?
Yeah, well, I don't know. They looked a side low on confidence, I'd say. When they concede a couple of early goals, it looks like their heads went down a little bit. But I think they'll end up being better than their league position suggests. I can't see them being involved at the bottom, to be honest. They're a big club that probably got really pretty decent resources, I would imagine, although I don't really know. To be honest, I hope they get out of it, because it was a lovely, really nice place to go. The really nice, friendly fans, lovely, friendly staff. The stewards were just like the stewards you want, who just stand there and just ignore everybody and not constantly nitpicking and telling you can't stand there or you can't do this, can't do that. It's just a nice away day. And hopefully they get out of it. Hopefully we don't play them next season because we've gone up. But if we don't, I'll very much look forward to a trip back there.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned their ground. I've been on holiday to Weymouth. I've never actually been there, but when I went and had a drive around, it's definitely like a National League safe standard, isn't it? It's above, like I would say, it's above.
Oh, God, yeah. It's got like a big stand, like a bit like the old stand at Wadden Road. But then it's got like two massive covered terraces, and the other whole side is all really steep banking steps with cover as well. So it's like covered all round. It's just, you could get. I mean, I think I had a quick look on Wikipedia, and it says like their capacity is 6,000. But I can well understand how before health and safety rules were so strict, how many you could get thousands in there if you crammed them in, because it's just like really deep, high banked concrete terraces with roofs, which allows you to get a good atmosphere going. It's a cracking ground. It's one I'd love. Very jealous of it.
Brilliant stuff. After the game, Daff Williams, a couple of quotes from his interview. Best performance so far in his tenure. He quoted that. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, definitely. Especially for the first half an hour, it's the best I've seen us play for many a year. I think we just look solid at the back, creative in midfield, and we put our chances away. It's we've been doing sort of two of those three things so far this season, and not all three on the same day. But yesterday we did, and yeah, if we can play like that every week, I think we're not going to go too far wrong.
It is a big statement. Like I say, going into Weymouth, you said that they ain't doing too well, but you know, Steve Claridge has just gone in there. He's he's probably just trying to work the place out. Like I said to you on last week's pod, it seems like a few players have left, so they're already kind of like shaping up to give Steve Claridge a chance maybe to bring his own team in there. So to Gloucester to go down there and get a 3-0 win, like I said, Daft Williams said his best performance so far in his tenure. He did say first half you were excellent. He said, but he was very annoyed with the last 5-10 minutes. It seemed like Gloucester taking their foot off the pedal. He said he wasn't happy with the drop off, and he said he made some changes tactical in the second half.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he changed a few things around. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, when you're 3-0 up and the game is petering out, I can understand I can understand how the foot comes off the gas a little bit. I mean, Aaron Wilding came on again for the last few minutes, so that's a couple of games he's got a few minutes. Didn't really see much of him on the ball again. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do when he gets a decent amount of time on the pitch. But yeah, changed things around a little bit. That's very much the Daft Williams way. I think he's a tactician. He spots weaknesses and moves things, changes formations during the game. And he's very much a squad manager. He doesn't. We definitely haven't got a first 11 that is picked if everybody's fit. It's the rotation. It's keeping everybody fresh, managing injuries, which he seems to be doing really well, and it's working so far. So long may it continue.
Brilliant. You said obviously we said about Ben Morgan. He got a goal and assist yesterday. He gives a special mention out to Ed Williams. Obviously, we said last week, you probably missed him in the FA Cup game against Chippenham. His exact quote was. He talked about his shot, and he said, he was unlucky not to go in, but he said he's definitely a player that should be playing a lot higher than what he is.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, he went to, as you all know, he went to Doncaster Rovers, and it didn't quite work out for him. Then he went over to America and played for a period over there, and he came back to us when Tim Flowers took over, and he trained with us pre-season, and we all thought he was going to come back, and then he didn't fancy it. Don't think he really fancied the way. Maybe he could see the way things were going a little bit, but he dropped down to Swindon Supermarine, and I think he's far better than that. No offense to Swindon Supermarine, but yeah, he seems to have really got his love of the game back. He's 30 now, so he's playing as well as I've ever seen him play, and he's an excellent player. He's got a bit of everything. He can. He's got a goal threat in him. He's industrious. He's creative. He's a very good player.
Yeah, and obviously you talked about injuries. Joe Hanks had to go off injured. It sounded pretty like a bad one. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on that?
It was like a through ball, and he passed the last man, and the goalkeeper came herring out of the box. Hanksy got there first, nicked it past him, and he just absolutely wiped him out. The keeper wiped him out, and the referee didn't give a foul. But it sort of went. I think the ball sort of shot sideways, and a defender got a foot on it. And the referee just gave the corner, but not the foul. But he was sort of down for 2 or 3 minutes, being treated. Got up, didn't look too sharp, and then I think he was on the end of another challenge, and that was done. Hopefully, it's just an impact injury. Just he got a good clout, and he'll be hopefully fit for Tuesday. But to be honest, at the moment, with the midfield we've got, it's like. You're leaving out a player that if you sat down and said, right, who can't we leave out? One of them's going to be left out, because we've got such resources in midfield like with Ed Williams, Pinchard, that somebody's going to be on the bench anyway. So if he doesn't make for Tuesday, then although it'd be a miss, I won't be overly concerned, because we've got players who can come in and do a job.
Brilliant. So it sounds all positive stuff, and let's hope Joe Hanks isn't not out for too long, and he's back fighting fit. Because as Joe Hanks, I know, is not a player who stays down easy, so he must have generally been hurt.
Without doubt.
So, Chris, what was your thoughts on Gloucester's result?
Yeah, good result again. Really pleasing to see Sops on the score sheet, and by all accounts, it sounds like he had a really good game. So yeah, that's a real positive from a Cheltenham perspective.
He's got his own song now as well.
Yeah, I've heard.
You might get to hear that in a minute.
I tell you what, guys, to save the suspense.
It was the most perfectly timed song ever, because the song started and mid Sop song he got at the end of a Morgan knockdown and stuck the ball in, and he looked so happy. He looked so delighted when the ball hit the net. And
I must say, this must be the most positive Gloucester City fans would use a Cheltenham name in a song. So just take a listen to this. and just as the Gloucester fans were singing that, Albieri puts the ball in the back of the net. It's absolutely brilliant. It made me chuckle when Dave shared it this morning, and I've been sharing it a bit. But carry on, Chris. What?
Yeah, no, I was pretty much done. It's great to see a Cheltenham player doing well, and it's a good win for them. Takes them top. So all looking positive from a Gloucester perspective.
Sean, what was your thoughts on their result?
Not too surprised by the result. Obviously, looking at the teams in the league, I saw a bit of the highlights on Twitter. Cracking strike from Gloucester before the goal. Shame it didn't go in really for him, because it's nice to get the goal, but it's good when you score long ranges like that. So, but yeah, I mean, no surprise there from me, really.
Yeah, it's good all around, and like I said, that does put Gloucester City top. And on Tuesday, Dave, quite a really big game away at Fareham. Am I correct in saying that they lost 4-2 to Bishop's Cleeve yesterday?
No, they didn't. No, they won 4-0. But I think you probably looked at Fareham rather than Farnham. But I suppose all the teams down at our level look the same to you, don't they? But, yeah, they're looking good. They're reminding me a bit of Tottenham last season. They got plenty of dosh, and they're going to be. It's a big game on Tuesday. I mean, to be able to go 3 points above them if we beat them with the game in hand. Although Waltham and Hersham pulled out another last minute winner yesterday, so they've stayed level with us also with the game in hand. So I can see it ending up being a bit of a three-way scrap, to be honest. I think Farnham, Waltham and us, I personally think are going to be the three that are fighting it out at the end. So yeah, Tuesday early in the season, but I think it's a pretty big game and I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's the end of the Gloucester City chat. So a very positive day for you, Dave, and it seemed like you had a really nice time then in Weymouth. It is a nice part of the country.
Well, the Gloucester City fans can turn off now.
Yeah.
All five of them, Dave.
I see all the statistics, and if I start seeing a drop now, I'll put you towards the end. So we go on to Cheltenham Town. Unfortunately, I'd rather just leave us out and we just talk about Forest Green and Gloucester. Let you two get excited about your starts, but yes, it's not good showing for me and Chris to talk about. So the day started with a must-win game for Michael Flynn. We went in after a 2-0 defeat last week to Crawley. We was at home to Oldham. And it ended in a very, very disappointing, this is me putting it kindly, a very, very disappointing 3-0 defeat, Chris. Before I get your thoughts, I'm just going to give Mark Mayhem, who on Twitter, one of our followers on Twitter.
Is that his real name?
Say again?
Is that his real name?
Mark Mayhem, yeah. Yeah, he's always up to mayhem when he's on away days, isn't he, Mark? So yeah, we'll just play a bit of a snippet of what Mark had to talk about the game, and then we'll get Chris's thoughts.
Hi, Mark here. Really frustrated, angry, depressed at where the football club is right now. Severely disappointed after yesterday's shambles on the pitch, although I thought we started reasonably okay and then just basically gave up after they scored a goal. Some relief that Michael Flynn has finally been shown the exit door, but again, extremely disappointed and angry, delusioned with the board of directors for not having a backup plan, still not identified a target to come in. How Aaron Downs is still with the club again is another major failing on their part. The whole coaching staff needs to go. Board and resignations needed. John Brady is the man to take us forward.
Thanks for your thoughts there, Mark. And as you can tell, it's not very
He's a
positive.
fearful soul, isn't he?
Did you say John Brady?
Wait till you hear what I've got to say, Dave.
We'll
Did he
get
say
on
John
to-
Brady, Dan?
He said John Brady, yeah. So we'll get on to
the other week.
it is, yeah. We'll talk about that towards the end. We'll talk about the more depressing stuff before we try and talk about what the positives are going to be. So, Chris, 3-0. What was your thoughts? How did you see the game?
Well, the first word I've written down on my report of the game is spineless. That says it all, really. We rode our luck with Mellon and Hannant hitting the post. The move for Hannant's one hitting the post actually was a really good move, but Mellon's one was defensively awful. Hannant's one was easier. It's harder to miss than it was to score. He has to put that in the back of the net. Then came the farce of the first goal. Their centre-back, I'm going to really iterate that, centre-back, Donovan Daniels, he gets the ball. Anyone who knows Whaddon Road will know that there is a gate that runs alongside the pitch in order for you to get to the paddock entrance. He picks up the ball a few yards further back from that gate, which is a good, 30, 40 yards away from goal, Dan? 30, I think.
Yeah.
And somehow he's allowed to get to the byline with Ethan Archer basically not being bothered to go with him and Freddie Wilcox being easy to get around. His low ball into the box is completely scuffed by James Wilson, and it falls to their right back with no player within 7 yards of him, 14 yards out from goal, to slot it into the top right-hand corner of the net. I have brushed over about 3 or 4 other chances that they've already had at this point. It's terrible. We could have been 3-0 down at halftime easily. For me, in the first half, there were only 3 players to come off the pitch with any credit whatsoever, and that was Isaac Hutchinson, who I thought was trying to make things happen, Liam Kinsella, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and Lee Angolt, who, in my opinion, did well holding the ball up and bringing others into play. Into the second half. And just before another centre-back goes down injured, there is a regulation throw-in level with the edge of our box where a few short passes, and this sounds like I'm getting at him mostly because I am, but Ethan Archer again stops and lets their player basically walk past him, gets a shot on goal in which Joe Day tips over the bar. I mentioned Joe Day for a second. His kicking was dreadful. And there was one comedy gold moment where the ball looped up high up in the air. He had no one around him within 3 or 4 yards, and he decides to punch it over the bar for a corner, which, I'm sorry, that was ludicrous in my view. It might be, and I could be wrong on this, Dan, it might have been that corner that the penalty comes from. Which, by the way, we can't complain about at all. It's a clear penalty. Ball comes in and somehow it bounces on the 6-yard line with no touch from absolutely anyone. Runs through. James Wilson clearly pulls their player right in front of the referee. I've mentioned the ref. It was Paul Tierney, Premier League referee. Last couple of weeks, I've given a review on the refs. I haven't made a point of it today because there isn't really anything to note. He had a good game, but there isn't really anything to note. Anyway, penalty duly scored. And then 90th minute, Joe Day covered himself in even more glory by palming a regulation shot straight to the feet of Sean's favourite striker, Joe Quigley, for a tap-in. If our goalkeeper coach can't push a shot like that away from goal instead of basically saying, here you go, mate, tap that in, I really do worry for Mo Diallo's development, number one. For the remainder of the 10 minutes of injury time, the players, and I mean all of them, basically just stopped. It probably could have finished 5 or 6-0 at home. We had 2 shots on target. Obviously, we know what's happened since, which we will obviously talk about. My opinion overall was it was better than Crawley, but was it anywhere near us picking up any kind of result? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That was all right though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe for like about a 10-minute spell in the first half, I thought we got a couple of half chances. And
oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I say, it was better than Crawley.
I
wasn't good enough to pick up any points.
I don't think it was. I think what it actually done, Chris, was cement our comments last week where we said maybe some of the players have stopped playing for the manager.
That was definitely evident in the last 15, 20 minutes.
It was lackluster. It was stale of any enthusiasm. You had players, and I'll get on to it in a minute. But you had players who were not running as fast as they could be on the pitch, and obviously we'll go to Michael Flynn's interview in a minute. There was one bit in the first half, so I'll go on to this now. So Ethan Archer, one bit in the first half, the ball goes into the corner, and I think it's played by Freddie Wilcox, and Archer has the whole of the left-hand side towards the old stand to run into. He gets outran, and I say outran, by 35-year-old Tom Pett. That tells you everything. This is a player who's just been sold for almost £500,000 to Luton, who got outran.
If by the way, if he thinks he's getting anywhere near their first team, I'm afraid he's mistaken.
Well, this is the thing, Chris, is that for 10 minutes after that, someone had a go at him down in the corner, and someone had a go at him in the main stand, and his name was Dan Hopkins as well. Purely because you could see, especially from the view I've got, you're looking down on it. It was, he sort of like went to go, he stopped and then went again, and then Tom Pett just literally burnt him, just left him behind. And then a fan must have said something down in the corner. And for about 10 minutes after that, every time he was in that corner, he kept sort of like mumbling something over towards the crowd. And even I shouted down, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I went, without the expletives, get on with it, or off your pop to Luton. Because I can tell you now, having 4,000 people at Walden Road having a go at you is going to be different to having 13,000 at Kenilworth Road having a go at you every week. And, so you need, I know this is only his second season in professional football, but you need to take a long, hard look at yourself, son. At the end of the day, 100%. That's part and parcel of football. Abuse is not okay, but also he got taken off by Flynn as well, which also brings another interesting fact. Only Joe Day, after 9 games and a 30-man squad, 31. Has completed 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That tells you everything. I know we've had lots of injuries, but that tells you everything. But I just thought the performance, Chris, was diabolical yesterday.
I agree.
And obviously we'll get on to Flynn now. So do you think that yesterday's performance tells you that some of those players stopped playing?
Yes. In short, yes. They were. There was, and it was evident towards the latter part of the second half. The players simply weren't trying. They weren't trying to run as hard as with the exception of 1 or 2. They just weren't trying. They'd given up at that point. It was not a professional football club.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if you had to look at any players out there, would you say it's fair to say that probably Liam Kinsella is the only player to probably be just above any sort of criticism? Because every game I've seen every game, and every game I see, he's the only player who does what you want to see in a player when you're in a fight. He gets his head in the areas that players don't like to get hurt. And there was times that in the game yesterday, the game was stopping because he was down in his head because he was banging his head, or he'd put his head down low and
he didn't want. And I will mention one incident. He didn't want to come off.
No.
The ref made him go off, and he threw his toys out the pram, Liam Kinsella. He was not happy with having to go off. I get his protocol, and he had to go off by the letter of the law. He had to. But that's what I want to see from every single player, is that passion, that drive. Liam Kinsella is the only player on that pitch yesterday that I can say he's left everything on that pitch.
When he came off of a ripped shirt, that tells you everything. He was getting in there and he was muscling.
He's the only player that I can say he gave everything he could yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. Well, on to Michael Flynn's
Can I touch a little bit further? Can I touch a little bit further on Kinsella? Sorry. Liam Kinsella does the job of 3 midfielders on his own. The amount of running he does the job of 3 midfielders. Luke Young, I'm not having a go at Luke Young here, but he hasn't got any legs. He's slow, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. He looks his age when he's on the pitch. Liam Kinsella does all of his running. Isaac Hutchinson, I can't say anything about him because he's only been here for 2 games. But prior to that, we had Ethan Archer in the 10. Ethan Archer doesn't defend. He can't defend. He's useless at defending. So Liam Kinsella was doing his running as well. Liam Kinsella at the moment is probably, for me, one of the only players that can take any credit out of the whole season, let alone just yesterday. That's all I had to say on you.
No, that's a fair comment. But yeah, moving on to Michael Flynn's interview before we get on to the obvious. After the game, the first thing he came out and said, which told me that he'd already knew he was gone, that's the type of performance that gets a manager sacked. What did you think when he said that?
You don't say that if you don't know you're getting sacked. Number one, you don't say it. I think he already knew that he was gone at that point. And if he wasn't, then that made the decision up, because no manager says that and keeps their job. It's as simple as that.
100%, and that was my thought. I was driving on the car at the time, and to come out of that straight away told me that he knew it was coming. I was watching him through the game, and it just seemed like it just looked like he was thinking, I'm gone. After their first goal, I recorded a 40-second video of him just stood there. Aaron Downs stood behind him, where they had just scored, and Mickey Mellon was out there like shouting at his players, telling them what they're going to do now, stay compact, be compact for the next 5 minutes, because we all know you're most dangerous when you've scored. But it was just there was nothing. He also said, I'm not going to take the blame for that today. No, I'm not just going to take the blame for that today. Some of that is those group of players as well. Again, a couple of comments on Twitter has been chucking players under the bus. Would you say that? That's
but would you say he's wrong, Dan?
No, he's not, because at the end of the day, at the end of the game, there was 4 or 5 players, Harry Powell, Ryan Broom, and a couple of others made the point to walk around and clap the fans, and the abuse, what was coming all of their ways, which I think is unfair for Harry Powell. He's not even played 90 minutes yet on 2 sub-period places. But I said, if it's okay for, if you're going to moan at the players and slag the players off for being bad, then why can't a manager do it? Because at the end of the day, if I was a manager, I'd be stood in that change rooms and going, that performance is me getting sacked. It's not you guys, and I'm picking you. I'm giving you your opportunity to play Football League football, but you're not repaying it. It's lackluster. It's there's no heart. There's no fight, and he's come out fighting with, I think, knowing that half hour later he was going to get the sack. But yeah, I genuinely do think that from that comment, it's fair to make that comment, Chris.
it's fair, but also a manager that doesn't know they're getting sacked doesn't say it either.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Mark Alley, I thought it was a really, really good interview by Mark. And obviously, you know Mark, I know Mark well. Yeah. And Mark is not a sort of person who will be sat down there pushing for a manager to get a sack. You know, I know Mark likes Mike Flynn, but he asked some really hard and very good questions. He did ask and said, do you think the players have stopped playing for you? And Michael Flynn said, no, I don't think they've stopped playing for me. But one thing for sure is because we've got injuries, I can use all those excuses, but they're professional football players contracted to Cheltenham Town. The players I put out there should be willing to work harder than the players they're playing against, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and it's absolutely right. I've alluded to it a few times already. The players gave up at points.
Yeah,
they didn't look interested.
I heard on Twitter somebody suggesting that one of the players was presumably the fans were singing something like Flynn out, and one of the players was encouraging the fans to sing it and telling them to sing louder.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not true because, like I said, Ryan Broom was one of the players who was walking around at the end, and like I said, he was getting pelters, and I was just watching, and Ryan Broom was basically going, "Come on, support us." Waving his hands in the air.
Yeah, that was the answer that the person who said it got. I just wondered how much truth there was, because if that was the case, that a player was encouraging fans to sing the manager out, that's pretty awful, isn't it? Really?
No, exactly. You might find that at your level, Dave, but not in the football league.
We don't need to because we're winning.
But that's a fair comment, Mark. That's a good comeback. No, you wouldn't find it at any level, any professional, semi-professional level. You wouldn't find any player going around to a crowd going, "Come on, sing up," because there's cameras everywhere. People see things. You ain't going to do it. But I can see why the lad might have thought it, because he was waving his hands up, but it was like, "Come on, support us." The one thing which really put the nail in the coffin for me was this comment by Michael Flynn, and not for me saying he's got to go. It's I knew he was going to go. Is this the worst? It is the worst start that I have made as a manager, but probably the worst group of players I've had. You can't say that, can you?
You can't say it, but he's digging out the old director of football. It's this in the same respect, and we haven't touched upon this. His pre-match interview, it stunk to me of this is the director of football who's no longer at the club's fault. That's what it stunk to me as. In his pre-match interview, he was basically listing off. And this was cut by the club. So if you haven't seen the club, if you've only seen the club's interview, go on to BBC Gloucestershire, and the interview it's on BBC Sport, so you can get it online. The full interview, because the club cut this part of the interview off. So if anybody does want to hear it, go on to BBC Sport, and it's on Cheltenham Town's page there. But he was listing off the responsibilities of a director of football, and to me it sounded like this is everything Gary Johnson was not doing. Yeah, he meant because he almost led with ensure there's a kit man. Yeah. I was going to say that was the bit where everybody started going, "Hang on, is this a dig at Gary Johnson?" But yeah, it was cut out of the club's interview, wasn't it, Chris? For me, it clearly was. Yeah, no, 100%. He's digging out the director of football there, and the director of football's gone now, so it doesn't matter. And he's gone now, so it doesn't, in hindsight, really matter. But we'll move on to that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Who's next then?
Well, we'll get on to that bit. We'll get on to that. But on the back of that bit, he did say the reason he says that is because he said that the team lacks leadership. It seems like it. He mentions this. It's been. Sorry, he says. Team lacks leadership. He said, "I'm not seeing enough of it," and that's in the change. How many 30-plus players have we got? How many players aged over 30 have we got that have played
over 200 Football League games. How is this squad lacking leadership?
Well, you would
Number
expect Wilson, you would expect Harry Powell, you would expect Luke Young, Liam Kinsella, Joe Day. There's just 5 players I've racked off straight away to be vocal in that changing room. But it was the way he said that's in the changing room after. So what he's saying is players are going in.
They're not calling each other out.
And they're not calling each other out. They're basically getting washed and changed and going home, which makes a massive difference. And then lastly, he mentions Mark Halliwell did say, "Are you still the right man for the job?" And he says about Mike Garlick. He says the one thing I will say. He says is the club will go places with Mike Garlick with more financial input. The view he's got of where he wants to take Cheltenham and what he wants to do at the club. And he said, I hope I'm a part of that. And Mark said, if you are given more time, what can you do to change? And he says this the same as we need to win. We need to start winning games. But he's been saying that for weeks. And then he says, and Mark says, how would you do that? And he said, some players have got to go. It's getting stale. And again, you got 31 players. Again, a lot of 12, 13 of them are coming in the summer. How can it be stale?
Well, I think he's probably referring to Ibrahim Bakare and Harrison Sona there, because he has alluded to those two quite a lot in them needing to go out and quote, get minutes. And leave the club, on a permanent basis. So I think he's probably alluding to that more than anything, because he can't really say that about players he's literally, although, and we've covered this already, he probably didn't want to sign most of them, but players that have only just joined the club.
No, 100%. Before we go on to what happened after the game, what's your thoughts, Sean? Dave, start with you, Sean. What was your thoughts when the Michael Flynn interview and the resort and what have you, apart from you enjoying it?
I was obviously surprised at the result. I mean, I wasn't expecting Cheltenham to get anything from the game. I think my prediction last week was like 2-1, and I thought that was a bit sort of hopeful that Oldham would score 2 goals. So yeah, I mean, them scoring 3 surprised me. As moving on to like the full-time bit, I was very surprised when I heard Flynn's interview. I think as soon as I saw a clip from one of your fans, and they sort of left it on a bit of a cliffhanger. They left, obviously, Flynn saying that that's the worst squad he's had, and then they sort of cut the video off. So I listened to the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, as soon as he said that's the worst squad he's ever had, and that, you kind of guessed it was at the end, because you can't go back into the changing room with them players and expect them to come out and play for you the next week. I mean,
no,
for me,
exactly.
He just knew it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realise, like, looking from the outside, obviously, yeah, I know it's not gone too well for Cheltenham and whatever, and they've had a poor start. But it's only really like when you see like John Palmer tweet, and I mean, a couple of his tweets again yesterday, in a way surprised me, because, like I said, with obviously Johnson leaving, I thought that was one of the big issues within the club. And then obviously Flynn then being announced, sacked, that was another one. But he was still sort of, I think it was tweeting just after that about more people need to go.
Yeah, but
from the top, which that sort of, again, that rings alarm bells for, how much of a mess is this? Like, did Mike Garlick really know what mess he was walking into before he took on the whole club?
Yeah, no, I think it's it's fair what you just said. Like, but with the back to the Michael Flynn bit, obviously you've been through it over the last few years of Forest Green. Obviously, you got relegated from League One, then League Two. Did you see some sort of comparison of when managers who were going to be able to get the sack at Forest Green, were they kind of coming out and there was a bit more agitated in their interview? They were saying stuff off the cuff where you was thinking, you can't really be saying that.
To be fair, no, I don't actually remember any of them saying anything near as bad as what
Troy Deeney dug his players out pretty badly, didn't he?
I mean, that, what he said, like, obviously he didn't need to say, but when I was thinking more back to like David Horseman, Ian Birchall, Big Dunk. I don't really remember any of them like really going at the players or anything. The squad. That's what I mean. It's like obviously we were in a right mess, and I would probably say yes. It was probably similar to you behind closed doors, but I've never heard a manager say something like that. And obviously, Flynn's quite an experienced manager as well. I mean, with likening him to Troy Deeney, I wouldn't do that because obviously Troy Deeney was new in a job. He was still quite young and raw. And we all know what Troy Deeney was like. With Flynn, he's not normally like that, is he? So, I mean, no, I don't see anything quite like that. I mean, but obviously we were a mess. So,
yeah, Chris, do you think then Sean makes a good point to saying that Flynn's quite a calm character. He says what's black and says what's white, and he's quite straight talking. But that was coming out basically saying I'm going, so I'm going to throw a few punches and kind of let you know of little bits going on what we may not have known about.
Look, Michael Flynn's always been straight talking. He's always said his piece honestly, or as honestly as he's allowed to by the club. And everything he said is evident on the pitch anyway. So, no, I don't think he's deliberately throwing the players under the bus. I think he's just saying it how it is. He's being honest with the fans. But you can't say those things as a manager. You simply can't. If he hadn't lost the players before those comments and he kept his job, he would have lost them after them.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, that brings us on to that at 18:35, John Palmer puts a tweet out saying, I believe that Cheltenham Town have sacked Michael Flynn. That was followed up by a tweet from the club at 18:39. The club had released a statement. Obviously, we knew for BBC Gloucester Radio, I think you put in the group chat, Chris, during the game, saying that BBC Gloucester Radio had mentioned that they was going to have an interview with Michael Garlick straight after the game, but obviously that got cancelled. Then I said at 18:39, they put a statement which read, Cheltenham Town can confirm that we have parted company with manager Michael Flynn following today's defeat to Oldham Athletic. Everyone at the club would like to thank Michael for his efforts and contributions during the time with us, and we wish him all the best for the future. It was very short, to the point.
48 words, I think, Dan.
Yeah, 48 words, and maybe Gary Johnson had a little bit of a better send-off than what Michael did.
You are not wrong.
What was your thoughts on that when it broke? Obviously, apart from
giving Gary Johnson the glowing reference they gave him, and then giving Michael Flynn, who, by the way, has got a better win ratio than Darryl Clark for Cheltenham Town. 48 words it shows where the board are and who in the board probably wrote that statement. That's all I've got to say, because we're going to move on to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. What was Dave? What was your thoughts when you heard the news coming out of Cheltenham?
It was always going to happen, really, wasn't it? It's like you can't continue with the results he's been having, and when you lose the backing of the support and pretty much everybody, and when you've got John Palmer openly questioning things need to change, then really I think he was a dead man walking. I think he knew that. I feel a bit sorry for managers. There's nothing they can say, is there? But what can they say if they get behind the players? Everybody says, what are you talking about? Why are you sticking up from their rubbish? If they say the players were rubbish, they say you can't say that about your players, throw them under the bus. I think he's in a no-win situation, but I think it was always going to happen. It's probably best for Cheltenham Town, and also Michael Flynn's mental health, because he's just a guy, isn't he, at the end of the day? And it can't be good for anybody going through that, can it? So I'm glad he's out of it, to be honest.
No, I agree. And Sean, what was your thoughts?
I don't really want to say surprised. Like I said, I think we all knew what was coming. But yeah, I mean, it's harsh when, like I think you tweeted, and you've got to sort of feel sad when people at this level are losing their jobs. But then it's just part and parcel of football, innit? I think they know what they're all walking into when they come in. Like it, sort of even at the lower league levels now, it's some teams are chopping and changing. I mean, we've been through it. So yeah, it's no real surprise there, to be honest.
Yeah, that wasn't everything last night. We thought maybe that was it. We was all gonna have our chats and online, and which I will admit that I felt deflated yesterday. You know, as you know, I've always got a lot to say, and I think Chris echoes this. It was just I was getting bombarded with messages. I must have at one point had almost 200 messages in my WhatsApp groups, what have you, and I just couldn't be bothered. You know. So we all have a laugh and a joke. We're all fans of our club, and we all travel up and down the country to watch them. But that hurt yesterday, because yesterday was probably the first time I sat there and thought this side could go down. You always have that little bit of hope, that we've had the injuries and what have you. But what I said to Mark Halliwell yesterday was, walking at the ground, I said, yeah, we've got injuries in defence. We've got players sat up in the stand again, but that midfield and front line still had no pattern of play. There was no desire, and that's what hurt them the most, because you're thinking to yourself, like, if a manager can come in and turn it around, we got to be very careful. And I said this, Chris, is that we got to be very careful. When we got relegated in 2015, we had the likes of Matt Richards, who came with really good pedigree. He was well thought of. He'd come through at Ipswich, done really well. You had Trevor Carson in goal. You had Troy Brown. There was players in that side where you went there. Kane Ferdinand was meant to be the next best thing. But we had players like that. We was going, it's too good. You get it turned around. But the problem is, if there's a problem off the pitch, which I'll go on to John Palmer's tweet in a minute. There's problems off the pitch. Sometimes it don't matter what you've got on that pitch. The poison, the negativity, it spreads, it beds in, and there's usually one way. Sean will tell you that they had 2 back-to-back relegations, and sometimes that comes from, because once you get certain fans who get on to a stage where they know is negative, they keep it negative, and that spreads into the play, and players hide behind that, because the board are getting battered. Players can go, don't matter if I don't run an extra couple of yards, because they're going to blame the board at the end of the game. That's what I sat there last night and digested, and I was like, I generally worry for our Football League status after 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, Sean put it really well, actually, in our group chat. He said that he's never known me to be as quiet as I was. It was because I felt depressed. I didn't want to talk to anyone. The state of the club is...
Imagine how bad you'd have felt if you'd gone to the game, Chris.
Yeah. If it's the state of the club is something I really worry about, and we're going to talk about that in more detail, I'm sure, Dan. So because it'll follow on from John's tweet.
Yeah. So John Palmer tweeted not long after the club announced that Michael Garlick left the club. Michael Garlick? No, we don't want that. I don't want to.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
I don't want to worry.
Garlic out.
Michael Garlick has not left Cheltenham. I do not want that. It's because I was reading his name on my screen. That Michael Flynn had left the club. And this is what John had to say. Several existing board members should, in my opinion, offer their resignation based on the decisions made and the way the club has been run for the last 28 months. After a series of Sunday League decisions, Mike Garlick now has to be Premier League class to prevent the drop. What's your thoughts on that?
It just makes me wonder if there's more to come out yet. It does make are there things that are worse that nobody knows about yet? Because that apart from John, who I imagine knows pretty much everything, but it does seem not in a good place, doesn't it?
Absolutely right, mate. I mean, my opinion, on the tweet is he's absolutely right. We've got 6 board members now. In my opinion, 3 of them need to go immediately. But they won't, because they get their free tickets and their prawn sandwiches, of course. But there are 3 members of that board that I would suggest need to be leaving that board very quickly, or the club will end up lower than Gloucester City.
I think I hope they stay then, to be honest.
I'm sure you do, mate.
Dave, you have more chance of it snowing in the summer.
It's the UK, it could happen.
Yeah, you watch it without snow in June next year. No, so yeah, that commitment by John, that's got everybody tongues wagging. I did message John myself, and I did try and get him to come on the pod today, but couldn't get him on, because it would be interesting to know exactly what John's putting out. Obviously, John's got a big platform. I think he's got 13,000 followers. Putting statements like that out, it just gets carried by the fan base anyway. John is a journalist, and I mean this in a respectful way, but what I would like to see John do is do an article. He, like I say, as a journalist, it'd be nice to do an article, talk about Gary Johnson, talk about what's going on in the boardroom, what he knows what's going on in the boardroom, the Sunday League decisions, just so people can understand just that little bit more. Because we only know.
Dan, I think the club might sue him if he says anything. If he goes into any more detail, he'll be in a lot of trouble, I think.
Does John have any official capacity with the club? I know he's a journalist, but does he?
No, he works for Gloucestershire Live.
Nothing with the supporters trust or anything.
No, he used to. He used to work direct for the club. He didn't stay very long, and I don't think he was very happy about that either. But like I said, I've got a lot of respect for John, and like I said, people do.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy, and a lot of people listen to him. But I would like to see him come out and just put that article in. And you say about being sued, Chris. I think because John's a clever guy. If you put it in the right way and what you've been told, but the question I'd be asking if I was the board, if you don't want John to write about these things, who's telling him? Somebody's straight away. So, like I said,
it's funny, Dan. I put a tweet out. It was a very tongue-in-cheek tweet. That I put out, and I said that it wouldn't surprise me if Bloxham banned John Palmer from the ground for being honest and telling the truth. It was very tongue-in-cheek, but it still wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I think
that a couple of pods ago, didn't I? I said, is John still allowed in the ground?
The thing is, Sean, if that happened, the fans would riot. I think they would literally riot, because the communication from the club at the moment is deafening. So we're not hearing anything. The only way fans are hearing anything what's going on is from John Palmer.
Yeah, John Palmer's the only person that gives us any news whatsoever.
And let's not forget as well, John's just not just a normal journalist. John's a Cheltenham Town fan. John's been going since the non-league days, the early days. He's seen the change in the club and what have you. And there's nobody more than John who'd want to see Cheltenham propel at the Football League and it'd be all positive, and we're setting the example of how it should be off the pitch, but we're not. We're making, as John stated, Sunday League decisions. Let's not forget, 2 years ago we were in League One. 3 years ago we finished our second highest ever finish in League One. But like I said, 2 years ago, League One, now we're bottom of the Football League, looking at we could drop out. It doesn't tell you that the club's had a business plan or any plan for any philosophy, any continuity. We're now without a manager and a director of football. The correct decision.
Which is the perfect opportunity, actually. It's the perfect opportunity for Mike Garlick to completely clear the lot out and restart it. We've only had 9 games of the season, so we've still got a chance. The season isn't over. We've still got 3/4 of the season left.
Yeah.
To rescue what is currently looks like an absolutely dire situation. There's only 2 clubs that I think are as bad as us, and I still think they're better than us on the pitch at the moment. Now, obviously, Michael Flynn's gone. How on earth Aaron Downs is still in a role, I don't know. Give the caretaker job to Tim Bell for all I care. get Aaron Downs out of the club. Ash Vincent's done nothing wrong, but he's part of the coaching setup, so he's got to go too. And then it gives Mike Garlick the opportunity to refresh the boardroom, get rid of the 3 members of the current board that should not be on the board, and really refresh and bring in a director of football or sporting director, technical director, whatever you want to call it, and let's fix this club before it's too late.
Yeah, no, I agree, and like I said, I've got nothing against Aaron Downs. Aaron Downs is a good bloke. I don't think he should go because I dislike him. I just think that if you're going to bring in a new manager, a new director of football, then the new manager deserves to bring in his own coaching staff.
100%. And if Aaron Downs is still here with a new manager in charge, I don't see anything changing.
Well, I saw a tweet on Twitter which I thought was fair.
Going back to what you said earlier, obviously you were saying about the team's too good. Like, you look at it, and I kept saying that about Forest Green. Obviously, I'm not trying to put a dampener on it anymore this season, but I kept saying the same thing about Forest Green last season. I kept going, oh yeah, we'll get to January and we'll spend some money and we'll be all right. But I think there was still a lot of stuff going on off the pitch, which I think you were right, and I think that filtered obviously onto the pitch. I think it was only when Cots come in, who was very experienced, I think he took quite a big role on himself, which sort of steadied the ship. And then this season, we've sort of reverted back to that, director of football, but we've got people in who kind of know, and we find that balance again. Sometimes, and I mean, I don't know how you boys feel with Cheltenham, and I know it's not going to sound great, but sometimes you take a step back, like a drop back down to the National League. I know it's not ideal and what everyone wants, but you kind of, it gives you a chance to then rebuild and then get back up, and then you're in a much better place.
I'd have to disagree with that. I think getting out of the National League,
it is tough.
Cheltenham did a great job of bouncing back first time. If they hadn't gone back that first year, they could well still be there.
They'd still be there.
It's
tough.
I mean, it's a difficult league to go out of with clubs coming up who've got bundles of money. These like the likes of Tottenham and people like that, and then you've got big football league clubs in there coming down. It's a tough old league to get out of. But I don't think Cheltenham will go down. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I hope they do, because it brings them a step closer to us. And if we went up, we'd only be one away. That would be fab for Gloucester fans. But I don't. There's 9 games gone. You've got a new owner who's got a few bit of bunts. He's got a chance to bring a new manager in, new manager bounce. And it's so tight down. I was looking at the league table, and literally like 2 or 3 wins. And I know you'll say, but where are those wins going to come from? But it's all it'll take. A little run, put a little run together of unbeaten run for 4 or 5 games, and you're up a mid table. I think Cheltenham will get out of it, because Gloucester aren't lucky enough for Cheltenham to go down and Forest Green to not go up.
Well, and that's why I say, Dave, that now's the time to have that clear out.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
I agree what Dave says, and I agree what Sean says. Dave, 100%. We do not want to drop out the Football League, because it is hard to go. Now, Sean, look at Forest Green. They might not be the biggest club, but they got one of the biggest budgets, and they're proving. They've had some really good names at Forest Green. They're proving it's not easy to get out of. And Chesterfield, Notts County, Southend, Rochdale, Hartlepool, Aldershot. I know Aldershot got in the Football League, and it was there for a few years. They got to League One. Aldershot look more likely of dropping into the National League South than they do to get anywhere near back near the top. So, what we need to do is we need to stay up. But the good thing for Cheltenham is at the end of the season, we've got, I think I've worked today about 20-odd players. With loans going back, 20-odd players leaving the club. That could be our reset with a new manager. And we're going to get on to the last bit now, the new manager bit. But what Sean said is correct, because you look at Birmingham City. Birmingham City were in dire straits. They've been in dire straits for 3, 4, 5 years. But it took them dropping into League One, a new ownership coming in, and they Birmingham City have gone back up, and they look like they're just going to go on and on and on.
But in those divisions, you've got three promotion spots. You've got playoffs, the National League. You've got one up. It's a bottleneck. It's a bottleneck that's created with
No,
clubs.
don't get me wrong. I wasn't saying it's going to be
yeah.
easy to get out of for them, but sometimes you take a step back, reset.
I totally understand the principle of what you're saying, but I just think if there's any division, or level between two divisions, I disagree with it more. It would be that step, because
but no, it is.
There's such a bottleneck of clubs, and I reckon there's 5, 6, 7 clubs in the National League who would hold their own in League Two, but they can't all get up at once.
Yeah, go on, Sean.
No, obviously I know exactly what you're saying. It is tough, and like all you can really hope for is that you can find a way to get out. Like he said, it is close at the bottom. I mean, even one win, I think, would take you up, 1 or 2 spots and out the relegation bit. But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but you just got to keep hoping that you can find somewhere from somewhere, really. Yeah.
Chris, before we move on to who we should be the next Cheltenham manager, you got anything else you want to add on to
that? I echo what Dave said. If we go down, we won't come back up for many years.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I think the only thing that's saving grace for Cheltenham is if we do go, I don't think we're coming straight back up, but I do think because now we've got Michael Garlick and the budget's going to be a lot different, we would have more chance of getting up in a 3, 4, 5 year plan. But that puts us 4 or 5 years behind where we want to be in the next 4 or 5 years in the Football League. So, yeah.
What I will say, what my argument to that would be, is yes, we've got Mike Garlick's money, but I can probably be sure in saying that Forest Green have still got a bigger budget than us, even with Mike Garlick's money.
Quite possibly, you know. But let's hopefully we're not going to get to that. Yeah. I had a voice message off. Obviously, we're all emotional, especially Cheltenham fans, Gloucester City fans, and Forest Green fans are emotional in a happy way, but we're emotional in a sad way at the moment. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to get a balanced review on what's going on, and I went to Pete Matthews, BBC Gloucester radio commentator. Got a lot of respect for Pete. He's a man who knows his stuff, and I just asked him to give me a balanced review of what he thinks of what's going on at the game, at the club. And this is what Pete had to say earlier on.
Of course, of a 50-game season, I guess you always like to get really poor performances. Think about Cheltenham's 5-0 home defeat to Cambridge in their first season in League One, which ended with them finishing in their highest ever league position. But yesterday was different. Yesterday was not unexpected. Cheltenham have played 12 games this season. They've scored 5 goals. They're conceding goals at a rate of 1.5 a game. It could and should have been more. The performance was nowhere near the quality you would expect of a Football League team, and there was a degree of inevitability that Michael Flynn had to go. I feel a bit sorry for Flynn. He's the fall guy. There are others who should also go as well. Where next? Cheltenham as a club desperately need a leader, someone who can galvanise the club, someone who can get hold of some of the challenges the club currently has, and who can shake up the players, organise them, and get them at very least to put in a professional performance. Names will be bandied around, the most obvious of which is Steve Cottrell. Whether he would come back remains to be seen, but right now he feels like the best bet.
So a brilliant voice message from Pete. So thank you for that, Pete. Which moves us on to the last part, and I'm sure a few fans will be happy to see the back of us talking about Cheltenham. So names has been branded around. I'll go through a list. We've got Ian Evatt, who, in my opinion, failed at Bolton. Big club, big budget, didn't get him up. You got Hinshelwood, who was at York. York's got a big budget in the National League. They was unlucky to miss it on automatic promotion last season, but a poor start this year, and it seems like it's carrying on. Another one, Steve Evans. Steve Evans is one of those managers. You love him if he's at your club. You hate him when he's not. And he's like a Luis Suarez kind of football player, Bruno Fernandes football player. If they're playing for your club, you love him. If they're against you, you can't stand him. But he gets the job done. Steve Cottrell, and this is my view, this is somebody who I want. Steve Cottrell is a manager who will come in, he would steady the ship, he would drag professionalism from the top to the bottom. I think he'd make us hard to beat, and just to make it enough points to keep us safe, because that is basically what we are at now, is just to make sure that we can finish 22nd and get to the summer. Martin Devaney, again, somebody I would be very pleased if Cheltenham appointed, because we have always seemed to do well under managed and people who've had affiliations with Cheltenham. Mark Yates, even though we didn't go up, two of the best seasons of football I've ever witnessed at Cheltenham. You've had Michael Duff, you've had obviously Steve Cottrell, people who've got affiliation with Cheltenham, we tend to do well. But I think it would have to be, if you was going to go with director of football route again, Martin Devaney would be your head coach. And then the one who I think was quite popular amongst the Cheltenham fans have been mentioning is John Brady. Quite oddly, he's had 2 managerial jobs and never been sacked by any of them. He started off at Brackley and then went to Northampton. They seem to think he's an organizer, someone who can build a pattern of play, and he likes to bridge the gap between the first team and academy. And the last one was Luke Williams, but now the holiday season is over, he might want to quit his job at Bristol Airport, get a flight into Staverton, and come and take the helm at Cheltenham. Starting with you, Chris, who do you want as the next manager at Cheltenham Town?
Who do I want as opposed to who will we get are probably 2 completely different things. I know you're a big fan of Steve Cottrell, and I know you've spoken a lot about how you think he would galvanise the players and stabilise the club, and I don't disagree with you. I never have disagreed with you. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Steve coming back. I would love it, don't get me wrong. I just don't see it happening. The most Cheltenham appointment would be Martin Devaney. It's what Cheltenham do, is they appoint previous players or previous staff members to do the job. Do I think Martin Devaney has done absolutely anything to deserve that? Probably not up to now in his career. The person I think is best suited to the role is John Brady. It's interesting that Steve Cottrell is currently Evans' favourite for the role, and John Brady is second favourite at 3-1 with most bookmakers, if anyone is at all interested, along with Adam Hinchelwood, who's 6-1.
Of course, Robbie Savage is 20-1.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna come on to that, obviously. Much as I would love that to happen, simply just to wind Sean up, it's just not going to happen. I don't see Robbie Savage accepting the job, let alone anything else. Even if he's offered it, I don't think he'd take it.
The podcast could literally be comedy gold if it happened.
Absolutely. And then Daff will take over at
Forest Green, yeah. and then I'd leave. Then I'd leave the podcast.
But yeah, no, I think John Brady's the right man for the job. Personally, he did really, really well at Brackley by all intents and purposes. I think, and I could be very wrong in saying this, but I think he won 7 trophies whilst he was at Brackley. I don't know what those trophies were, but I read somewhere that he won 7 trophies whilst he was at Brackley. If that's true or not, great.
It's been the but he also every year.
He took over Northampton when they were low down in League One. Okay, he didn't keep them up. It went down to the last day, I think. I think they went down by 1 point or something like that. But then he stabilised them in League Two, finished 4th, and then 3rd up automatically. And I very recently watched an interview with John Brady with Gabe Sutton, who's a very respected journalist, and he covers all the EFL teams. And I was impressed with what I heard him say, in that he's got his preferred way of playing, but ultimately it's about fitting the players into the best system to suit them. That's what we need right now. We need someone who's going to fit those players in to the best system to them, not someone to come in and say, I play 4-4-2, for example. You have to play 4-4-2, and at all times we're going to have 8 men behind the ball, for example. That's not how we need to play. We need someone who's going to fit around our players, and I think John Brady's the right person for that. I don't really want a former player or a former staff member to come back. I think we need a completely fresh look and a fresh take on things. Whilst I agree with what you say when it comes to Steve Cottrell, he would organise us and he would make us hard to beat. I don't see him taking the job, unfortunately. I'd like John Brady.
I did tell him yesterday when I was walking in the ground, he was in the box, and I went, Steve, and he looked down, I went, we need you back down there, and he just gave that very awkward look. But the woman he's speaking to had a big smile. Sean, what do you think would suit Cheltenham?
Aaron Dames. Nah, joking.
I was literally so close to swearing then. You do not believe.
No, I don't know, really. I know you boys say you can't see Steve Cottrell coming back, but I mean, obviously with Mike Garlick taking over now, he might fancy the job a little bit more if your budget's increasing. You know, I don't think he really wanted it before, but maybe he knew how much of a mess it was in before. You know, when there was talks about him getting it before. Did that John Brady take Northampton up?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
Third.
He wouldn't be a bad shape, but I mean, if I was...
And he resigned from Northampton. He resigned from Northampton because he thought he'd taken them as far as he could.
Trying to edge more towards that Adam Hinshaw would, to be fair.
I just generally think that non-football league experience is not what Cheltenham need right now. This is why I keep saying...
I mean, he was tated for Notts County, which... You know, I think in the summer there was like a big thing there, so I don't think he ever repaired that relationship. But then, you know, there's a couple of names on there. I mean, can anyone see Mark Cooper getting it?
If he does, I would say no. If Mark Cooper got the job, I would tear my season ticket up. I would tear it up. He's not a likable person. I hear you guys talk about him. Yeovil talk about him. I've been told he's arrogant. Keep him away from my club, please.
He is.
I feel the same about Steve Evans, by the way.
Hey?
I feel the same way that Dan does about him about Steve Evans.
I would take
Steve Evans, I think, would do a better job.
Yeah.
If you took on Mark Cooper, I mean, he's obviously experienced and things like that, but I don't know if he's the man that you need to rebuild the club at the moment. Like I said, he doesn't. He was quite divisive with our club. And he did cause a lot of rifts. So, I mean, I think he'd probably make it worse. But I don't know really. Steve Cottrell, I think, would probably get the fans back on side. They all like him, don't they? So,
yeah, cool. Dave, who do you think would suit Cheltenham?
Well, there's a question of who I'd choose if it was my decision. I'd go Paul Buckle.
Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if David Bloxham wanted to bring Wade Elliott back.
Oh, don't.
Gary Johnson the job.
Having listened to you two boys, I'm now quite keen on Mark Cooper and Steve Evans. But I think it'll be Steve Cottrell. I think he'll come back. He's out. He's not working, is he? He's left Forest Green. I think he did love for the club. I think he'll come back, and I don't think it would be a bad move, because if he agreed to come back, then it would immediately create that feel good factor at the ground, wouldn't it? The fans love him. He's a bit of a legend. So there's always that never go back thing, isn't there? But I think he'd probably be, if you could possibly tempt him back, I'd say he'd be your best choice.
I will add that, and I know this is gospel. I know a friend of Steve Cottrell's who works for us, and he said when he was asked before, he generally didn't want to come back. He was thinking about other things. When he was asked after Wade Elliott was sacked, he turned it down because of Wade Elliott. He said it was because of Wade Elliott, because if he's had Wade Elliott at Burnley, he's had him at Bristol City, and for the pure respect for Wade Elliott, he said he wouldn't come back. It might be different now. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Let's get on the Forest Green. I'd rather listen to Forest Green and feel even more depressed than I already do. So let's go on to Forest Green's result yesterday. A 2-0 win away at Woking. We've had a voice message in from Ryan Anderson, so I'll play that a bit quick before we go to Sean's view. Reese, sorry. That's the part. Do pardon me. I don't know. I've got Ryan, but Reese Anderson.
Hello, lads. It was a very tough watch yesterday at Forest Green Rovers, beating Woking 2-0. It was a terrible first half of football, completely made by the goal. Jaden Clark beating his man in the box. Kyra Mitchell with excellent work to gain a yard, put a ball in, but Jaden Clark with a nice finish at the back post. The game lacked real quality from both sides in the first half, but then going into the second, Tom Knowles, my word, what a flick. Isaac Moore leathers the ball back into the box, and Tom Knowles is so clever, so exquisite. How has he done that? I'm not sure. But 3 points on the board and top of the league up the Rovers.
Thanks for that, Reese. Sean, what was your views? And do you agree with what Reese said?
Yeah, I don't think it was like one of your most, hasn't been one of the most end-to-end games that we've seen this season. Obviously, Woking is predominantly quite a sort of a tough place to go, I think, for some teams. I'm pretty certain I'm right in saying Barnet lost there last season. And I think York drew there this season. So I was a little bit hopeful, I think, on the pod last week. I gave it a 3-0 win. But no, I mean, yeah, looking at the goals, excellent from Mitchell down the side. Whipped in and a good little finish from Clark. And then, yeah, the Tom Knowles one, I mean, I keep mentioning him, and it's probably going to start getting boring very soon. But he's honestly just a new man, mate. Like I said, I spoke about it previously. We spoke about it with Robbie. He's just like a new signing again. He's just, he's just playing so well. And obviously he's like, yesterday it was a corner come in. Isaac Moore smashed it towards a goal. Knowles had his back facing the goal, and he's flicked it with his back facing goal. He's flicked it through his legs. Just a brilliant finish, really. I think that just sums up sort of where we are at the moment. I don't want to say last season, maybe last season and a couple of seasons before, when we been down the wrong end of the table. We haven't been sort of maybe getting them sort of. I don't want to say luck, but we haven't been getting that where we've been smashing things in and it's been falling to one of our players. So it's nice to have it this season. Like I said, a completely different feel around the club everywhere. Great win.
Yeah. We did. Yeah, you mentioned about Tom Knowles scoring again. I did see the goal back. It was a proper striker's finish, wasn't it? Like a poacher's finish. He coming in at speed, and he just sort of gets that flick at the back of his heel, and diverts into the net. That's his 5th goal in all competition, and like you said, there's been a big turnaround. I know we've touched on it before, but there's been a massive turnaround in the way he's playing for Forest Green, and Robbie Savage seems to like him.
Yeah. I mean, I think he dropped Kenji yesterday, who's been one of the main starters for us at left back. Again, I don't think that was through any sort of anything that Kenji's done wrong. I just think Tom Knowles has been exceptional. So I think Robbie being the way he is, he's given a chance to these players, and he's basically just trying to, I think, keep them all happy, getting them all game time, which, is hard because we have got a big squad as well. But, he seems to be doing everything right.
How many players have you got, Sean?
What's that, Chris?
I said, how many players have you got, Sean?
Mate, we got a huge squad. Like when you're looking at Cirques, Bunker, Long, May. They're not even getting in the team. We've got injuries. We Deutsch.
He was at Cheltenham yesterday.
We got a young lad, Aidan Deutsch, how you pronounce his name. He hasn't even played yet. He come in, got injured straight away in training session. And I mean, and we're still, once, the first 4 or 5 players I mentioned, they probably ain't going to get a look in this season. But when Doige is back, and if this Daesh comes in again, get back from injury, it's just going to be a proper headache for Robbie Savage. But yeah, it's a pretty hefty squad at the moment.
But that's what you want as a manager, don't you? You want your players to be coming back fit, strong, keen, full of enthusiasm. If the team's playing well, it raises the level that the players are, because those players know they got to get to a certain level to get into the team. So that can only be good for Robbie Savage.
Well, yeah, and I mean, with Doige, obviously he's not got the legs that he used to have, but he still seems to come on and find goals. I mean, he was one of our top goal scorers, I think, or our top goal scorer last season. Obviously, he surprised a lot of fans that he didn't even get a look in against Southend in the playoff. But yeah, he still just seems to be, scoring. But the thing is, I don't want to say we're not missing him. Of course, we're missing him, but it's not affecting our results at the moment. We're still going. I mean, we still got a couple of tough games to come up yet, but everything, like I said, everything's going well. Everything's going right. We have got a good squad, a big squad, but we got a lot of youngsters in now. I mean, like Harry Whitwell. I mean, he's just on loan from West Brom. I hope they enter recall in his loan for this season, because obviously I think that screwed us up a little bit with Jed Ward last season in goal. We lost him back to Bristol Rovers in January, and we never really had a settled goalkeeper. And I know a goalkeeper is a completely different position, but Harry Whitwell has just been phenomenal. I thought the way he picks a ball up and just runs with it.
He looks like he's enjoying it as well, Sean. I noticed, I think it was yours. It might have been the Tom Knowles goal yesterday. I noticed when he scored, when they ran over to the corner where the fans were. He was really, like, you could tell he was really. You can always tell with the youth players how much they love it. I remember Joe Colwell at Cheltenham. He was the same. He really gave it some when he went towards that corner. So he's obviously.
Well, I think similarly with the Macclesfield players, and we've alluded on it, and Rob has alluded on it. Like, I think they're just relishing playing, full-time men's football. And I think it's the same for Whitwell. He's been at West Brom and they're under 21s, and although that's it's probably still quite good for him, I think it's still completely different when you're playing in men's football in front of crowds, like bigger crowds and things like that. I think they're just relishing it at the moment. What was that?
Is that away games, is it? Or?
Yeah, all the away games.
They've thrown Sean off now. Moving on to Robbie Savage's interview after the game. He talked about the fans turning up, and we joke about it and all that, but there is some substance in what he says. At Forest Green or a village team, there's 5,500 people in Nailsworth. You took a couple of hundred down there yesterday. It is nice the managers, talking about and travelling, but do you think that the fact that the fans are travelling well in Wabi is because of what Robbie Savage is building?
Yeah, I think he's sort of making people want to travel, which you do when you've got a good relationship, and like I said, when you see how he is with the fans, it's, they like the appreciation as well. I mean, there's nothing worse, and I go back to Mark Cooper. I mean, there was times when, I remember, I think it was going up to Carlisle on a Tuesday night, and he didn't even clap the away fans. He just walked off, and I think there's nothing worse when you're travelling away and managers can't even be asked to come over and give you a clap. Whereas I think, with Robbie Savage, he's not just clapping them, but he's really, showing appreciation. And like a video sort of went viral yesterday.
He's dragging a little lad, didn't he? Drag a little lad over the.
Literally what I was just about to say.
Took him to the
that ain't the first time he's done it. He's done it at a few away games. It's really good to see. They love it. It's like, I think Dan's mentioned it before. Like just these little things, they go a long way, and they stick with kids for a long time. Yeah, for the rest of their life.
In the week as well. In the week as well, we had the football tennis video. We had the crossbar challenge that the club put out with, and he was front and center of all of it. And it is horrible to see from a Cheltenham perspective, because they are doing communication so well.
Do you know what? I think a lot of that though is Robbie Savage. Like he's, you know what he's about, and he, like, you know, he's been on the radio, he's a commentator, and I think he's just like, all the social media stuff has really gone up, you know, a different level this season, and I think he's played a big part in that. I reckon he's been flinging ideas out there, and I think a lot of that's probably coming from
he's
him.
personally tweeting as well. You know, he's personally tweeting as well. You know, wishing fans a safe trip. I mean, whilst that's a little thing, that really does mean a lot to some fans.
Of course,
especially, you know, when you've only got 15 fans, it means a lot to those 15.
he mentions as well.
He rings them all personally to wish them a safe trip.
Buys them a kebab after the game. He also did mention as well that you know, I think Reese mentioned it in his clip. He said Forest Green are finding ways to win. Like, you know, I think that was probably the most polite way to say that we wasn't great. It wasn't a great game, but we've come to Woking. Like you said, York have drawn there. Barnet lost there last year. It's not the easiest place to go, but you found a way to win.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Rob has touched on it many times. You know, we've played a few different formations, and you know, he's adaptable. I mean, you know, we talk about, like, you look at like Man United, for example, and you look at Amorim, and he's very stubborn in his style, and he won't change. And even though he's not getting results, he's sticking at it. Whereas I think Rob is like the complete opposite. I think if he thinks something ain't working, he changes it, and he's happy to change it 10, 15, you know, 20 minutes in, or in the cup game overnight, 1 minute in, he makes 4 subs. But I just think that's just how he is. I think he goes in with a game plan, and if he doesn't feel it's working, he'll just change it. And I think we've seen a few different ways, you know. At Halifax, we sort of won a little bit ugly, I think. Yesterday, to be fair, I only really remember Woking having one chance where I thought they could score. It was like a free header, and a bloke nodded it over the bar. They didn't have a shot on target. But again, it is a tough place to go. So, yeah, I mean, we are winning different ways. It's good to see. I just hope we start getting some more convincing wins again soon, because I wouldn't want to play that goal difference up, because Carlisle seem to keep scoring.
You know, you're top of the league. You've gone back top of the league. Obviously, Rochdale's game is rainy season in Manchester, so Rochdale tend to get like 5-6 games called off. So they've got another game to catch up on. But I think you're top of the league on goal difference now. You've got a tough one Tuesday night. Where's it for 1 point? Sorry, yeah, 1 point clear.
They've got a slightly better goal difference. I think they're plus 14. We're plus 13.
That's it, yeah. And I think they got 2 games in hand, haven't they? Or is it 1?
Rochdale's got 2 games in hand. So I was talking about Carlisle then. They got 2 games in hand. Obviously, one of them's against Southend.
Yeah. And
so it's not going to be easy for them.
So it looks like the early pace setters are yourself and Carlisle and Rochdale. York obviously slipped up. But I keep looking at the table, and I have a funny feeling that Scunthorpe are going to be in that mix towards the end of the season.
Mate, I had Scunthorpe as like my dark horses to do quite well, and people said that I put them a little bit high, but there was something about them. I just fancied them. I mean, you know, they got that Callum Roberts that played for Notts County. Good player. I think he was quite injury prone, but he seems to be okay there. But when we played Scunthorpe, I said it, they played really well. I think what was their downfall was they scored really early, and they sort of automatically were maybe it's like a mentality thing. They probably not stopped attacking, but they were probably trying to be a bit too cautious when they went 1-0 up.
Yeah.
But then they did start time wasting quite early on, which didn't help them, and you know, by the end of the game. But no, Scunthorpe are a good side.
Yeah, well, like Gloucester, you got a quick turnaround. You're away at Altrincham on Tuesday night. I know they lost yesterday to 2 under Carlisle, but it's a tough game out there, isn't it? Altrincham seem to be a club on the up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to struggle this season because obviously lost Regan Linney and Alex Newby, which was like they were instrumental in their season last season with most of their goals. I think between them, they probably scored over half of their goals. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough place to go.
Yeah, I think it will be a tough game, but we'll get on to that. You had a game in midweek, 3-2 win over Wolves. The reason we forgot to preview this last week, but Marquez was back, scored, and it seems like now he's been recalled from his loan spell, and Robbie Savage is really happy with him and said he wants to get him in and around the first team.
Well, yeah, I mean, he spoke very highly of him after the game. From what I understand, I think he was meant to play for Alvechurch Saturday, but I'm assuming because his loan, they actually tweeted saying, that it was going to be his last game, and then the next minute it wasn't happening. So I'm guessing that they sort of recalled him maybe for a bit of a rest because I imagine he's going to be included on Tuesday night at Cheltenham. But I'm excited to see him. To be fair, he's a young lad come through the academy, and I watched his interview in the week, and you could just tell he was buzzing. He's got that confidence at the moment as well. Like everything's just going for him, and he could be, maybe like the striker that comes in and just starts banging the goals in for us.
Yeah, no, agree. And just funny to touch on, at the beginning of October, your game in the beginning of October, you've got another 400 shirts being given away. So I was talking to someone the other day that their local football's been contacted. They're going along and what have you. Well, how's it going to feel, Sean, that you're going to have more shirts out there and you've actually got fans?
What was the attendance on Wednesday, Sean?
What? That was only national.
I think there were about 300 there.
Yeah. 317, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just jumped out at me when I.
Yeah, no, that's only National League Cup, so we're protesting against that cup. We don't want to be in it.
Oh, that protest was it? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, no, joking aside, again, another 400 shirts being given out. As we've touched on before, is a great way of getting fans connected and trying to grab kids young, something that Cheltenham Town are not doing. And Gloucester City kids don't even know they exist. But but yeah, what's your thoughts on that happening again?
No, I mean it's great. I mean, like I said before on a previous podcast, it was it's a good incentive. Obviously, not every club can afford to do it. I think I worked it out after we spoke about it last time, and the kids' shirts are about £35. So giving away 400, that's like 14 grand, I think. So
yeah,
it can be a big hit, but it's a great incentive. I just think like I said, sometimes I just think you're fighting a losing battle. Especially in Stroud. There's a lot of Swindon fans and stuff in Stroud, so I don't think they're ever going to get sort of more than 3,000 up there.
Yeah. But things can change, and like I said, I'll never knock anybody for marketing and trying to make things happen. As much as I enjoy seeing your attendances blow 2,000, and we have the banter about it. But at the end of the day, it's an incentive, which I think is brilliant. We're in a cost of living crisis, and it's enticing families to go there. And I've said on a previous pod that if Cheltenham Town are not careful and we don't put our fingers out our backsides, that when you move to Junction 13, we could see a big swing in terms of losing the next generation if we're not careful. No,
they're doing far too well for me to talk about them.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, good, because because of the talk on Cheltenham Town today, this pod's gone over. But we're going to move on to the last section. We'll go over to Chris, who's going to give a roundup on local results for the weekend. So over to you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Let's go around the grounds. Few midweek games included this week, starting off with Oldland Abertonians, who on Wednesday were away at Clevedon, where they suffered a 4-1 defeat. And yesterday they were at home against Nailsea and Tickenham, which finished in a 1-1 draw. These two results mean that Oldland are 17th in the Western League Premier Division, with a trip to Shepton Mallet up on Tuesday. No midweek game for Southern League Premier side Yate Town. Yesterday they faced Dorchester away, which finished in a 2-0 defeat, putting them one from bottom in the table. Next up for Yate is a trip to Basingstoke on Tuesday. Southern League Division 1 South Bishops Cleeve travelled to Fareham Town in the second qualifying round of the FA Trophy, which finished 4-2, seeing Cleeve through to the next round. They're back in league action next Saturday at home to Bidford. Hartpury University were also in cup action, hosting Portishead Town, where they also won 4-2. Hartpury are away at Falmouth on Tuesday night. Western League Division 1 teams at Bitton and Cadbury Heath both had Tuesday games last week, with Bitton winning 2-1 at home to AEK Boko, and Cadbury Heath had an away trip to Longwell Green Sports, where they fell to a 1-0 defeat. On Thursday, it was announced that there were some changes in the management team at Bitton, with Daniel Langdon stepping down as joint manager and taking the director of football role, with Dean Langdon moving over from the ladies to join Jay Powell as joint first team manager. In the first game for the new setup at Bitton was a home tie to Shirehampton yesterday, which ended in a 2-2 draw, while Cadbury Heath also had a home game against Hengrove Athletic, which finished 5-1. These results put Bitton second in the league, and Cadbury Heath are in 10th. Next up for Bitton is a home game against Bristol Telephones, while Cadbury Heath welcome Shirehampton, both next Saturday. In addition to the FA Trophy games, there were also FA Vars games played, with Thornbury playing on Friday night at home to Brislington, which finished 3-1 to Thornbury. Yesterday, there were a few Cup County derbies, with Long Levens hosting Slimbridge, which saw Slimbridge through to the next round, winning 3-2 on penalties, following a 4-4 epic stalemate by the sounds of it. Mangotsfield hosted Cirencester Town, which finished 4-1 to the visitors. Fairford were away at my old team, Cheltenham Saracens, which saw the teams finish 1-1 after regulation time, and Fairford won 6-5 on penalties. Also in the cup, but not a derby, saw Lydney host Eversley in California, which finished 3-2 to Lydney. Finally, the Hellenic Premier League, where there was just one game for the county's sides because of the cup, where Tuffley were away at Westfields, which will be one to forget with a 7-1 defeat. And Cinderford had a weekend off. There's the roundup from around the grounds. Back over to you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Chris. And Sean, over to you for the scores on the doors for our predictions last week. Where are we in our standings?
Well, Dan, you got 2 wrong. You got the Cheltenham and Forest Green wrong, but you got Gloucester correct result, so that gives you a point. I got 3 correct results, so that gives me 3 points. Chris got 3 correct results, so that gives him 3 points. And Dave got 2 correct results, which is FGR, and Gloucester only got Cheltenham wrong. So as the table stands, I'm on 4, Chris is second on 3, Dave's third on 2, and Daniel fourth with 1 point.
Just like Cheltenham, I've started slowly. There's still plenty of time. Right, let's get on to next week's games. We'll start with Forest Green. Tuesday night, we've mentioned you're away at Altrincham. Head-to-head, you played 18 games. Forest Green have won 8. Altrincham have won 4, and there's been 6 draws. Last season, Altrincham had a 2-1 win at home and lost 2-1 at Forest Green. So Altringham's last 5 games, they've lost 3 of the last 5. They've lost 2-1 yesterday to Carlisle, and Bournemouth, they beat 3-0. Predictions, how do you see it going? We'll start with Sean.
I think I've said it, Altringham's a tough place to go. I never, just because of the way how attacking we try and be, I never fancy us to keep a clean sheet. So I've obviously gone for 2-1.
2-1 win or loss?
2-1 win, sorry.
Dave?
I'll go for I've gone 6-0, 5-0. I'll go 4-0 to Forest Green. I'm working my way down to reality.
Chris?
I'm going to go 2-0 Forest Green.
I'm going to go 2-2. I think two away games in a week, I think might take it out of Forest Green, so I'm going to go 2-2.
Yeah, I don't like betting against them on that, but it's going to be tough playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday.
Yeah. And then next Saturday, you've got York City. It's a 5:30 kickoff. Head-to-head, played 20. Forest Green have won 6. York City have won 8. And there's been 6 draws. Last season was 1-1 at York and a 2-0 home win. York's last 5 games, they've won 3, lost 2. So it's been a bit of a slow start for York and then very inconsistent. So is it maybe a good time to play him, Sean? What's your predictions?
Again, I'm going to go for a 2-1 FGR. Thing is, I don't want to write York off. They're a good team, strong team, and you know they're going to be up for it. It's different, and I know like it's not similar to a local derby, but in respect of form, I think goes out the window a little bit because I think you kind of get up for these sort of games a little bit more, and it'd be I'm hoping it'd be a good game. So, and hopefully we can come out on the right side of it.
Okay, Dave.
I'll follow the trend. 3-0 Forest Green.
He's coming down.
How are you going to start going out the other way if you don't get them? Like start going.
I'll get down to a draw in a few weeks, and then I'll be having you losing.
How's he not bottom of the prediction league?
Well, like you are.
That must be bad. Chris?
Is it at York or at
Forest Green?
At Forest Green. I'll go for another 2-0 Forest Green.
Cool. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Forest Green win. Ryan Innes, 125th minute winner. Because they like to score late, don't they, Forest Green? So,
on that note, I do just want to quickly give a shout out to Carnu for Forest Green because he broke his jaw yesterday. Was taken off after 16 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
So I hope he makes a full recovery in good time as well because he's a cracking player.
Yeah, Robbie did mention that. Wish him all the best. On to Cheltenham. I can probably predict two of the predictions. So Cheltenham are away at Grimsby. They played 20 times. Head to head 7. Grimsby have won 7. Cheltenham have won 7, and there's been 6 draws. Last season it finished 1-1 at Whaddon Road. And Cheltenham lost 3-2 at Grimsby after being 2-0 down, getting it back to 2-2, and then losing late on. Form, Cheltenham, quite easy. Last 5, 3 defeats, 1 win, 1 draw. Grimsby, last 5, 1-2, lost 3, but that's in all competitions. They're still in the cup competition, so that includes their result in the Virtue Trophy. They lost 3-0 yesterday, so it could be a massive bounce back next week at home against us. Chris, how would you see it going?
Honestly, I'm really fearful that we're going to get absolutely spanked. They have conceded quite a few goals. That's my only saving grace. But we don't look like scoring at all. I'm going to go with, I hate to say this, a 3-1 defeat.
3-1 defeat. Dave?
I'll go 1-1 draw.
Thank you.
Gloucester fan says we're going to draw.
Sean?
I'm going to jinx you.
I've gone for a 4-2 Grimsby win.
Hey, I'll take 2 goals, Sean. That's a start.
Well, I just think with Flynn going...
I'm not sure where you're getting 2 goals from, Sean.
Well, I just think with Flynn going, I can see a different attitude on the players.
Yeah.
I can't
no manager bounce.
not
Yes.
quite a new manager bounce, but I think the players will have a point to prove after the comments he made after the game. So I can see him scoring a couple on Grimsby, but just Grimsby just being a bit too good and scoring 4.
A reaction in conceding 4 and losing.
Yeah.
Can't you just take my prediction, Dave?
Great reaction.
I was kind of thinking along the same lines as Dave. I was trying to, in my heart was going a 1-1. You know, the manager's gone, but it's still at the moment it's Aaron Downs and it's Ashley Vincent in charge. So I'm actually going to agree with Chris, and I'm going to go a 3-1 defeat. I can't see anything out there, unfortunately. So moving on to Gloucester City. You've got a game on Tuesday night against Fareham Town, first against second, big game. There's been no head-to-heads. You've never played each other before. They don't know you don't know them. What's your predictions, Dave?
I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 smash and grab 3 points.
Okay, Sean.
I'm going to go for a boring 1-1.
Okay, Chris.
I was going to go for a 1-1 as well, but I'm not now. I'm going to go for a 2-1 defeat.
I'm going 1-1. I think it'll be a draw again. Another away game for Gloucester. But I think both teams will try and cancel each other out. And then on 2-1 defeat.
2-1 defeat, mate.
And then finally, Gloucester then are at home on Saturday to Basingstoke. They sit 17th. Obviously, Gloucester at the moment are top. Head-to-head, there's been 2 draws. And last season was 2-1 draws. So, Dave, how would you see Saturday going?
3-0 win.
Sean?
I've gone for 2-1 Gloucester. I can see Charlie Austin popping up with a goal.
My mate Charlie.
Chris?
4-2 Gloucester.
I'm going 3-1 Gloucester. So that's it's been a long pod. So I do apologise if you've got to this point and your ears are bleeding. But Dave, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Sean, has been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Dan.
Chris, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, lads.
I am your host, Daniel Hopkins, on a weekend where Gloucester, they do like to be beside the seaside. Forest Green go woking on to the top of the league, and Cheltenham are holding on by their flinders. We'll see you next time.